Hello, welcome to Functional Philosophy. I'm Charles Tew, that's T as in Tango, E as in Echo, and W as in Whiskey. This is episode number 14, and its title is How to Prove That God Does Not Exist. The skeptic community is pathetic. The best argument you actually don't hear many skeptics call themselves atheists. You don't hear many people call themselves atheists. Many intellectuals, that is. They call themselves agnostics. Their view is that God is simply arbitrary, like a leprechaun. There's just no evidence that he exists. So he could exist, he might exist, but there's just no evidence, so it's irrational to think about him. Although they don't even go that far, although I would. Leprechauns are arbitrary. It is irrational to even posit them. There's nothing in the makeup of reality, as far as we know, that makes leprechauns impossible. It's simply that there is no evidence for them. God is not the same way. God is false. You can know for a certainty that God does not exist, that no God exists. Here's the proof. From the moment you are aware of anything, as an infant or pre-infant in your mother's womb, from the moment you have consciousness, you are aware of something. There is something out there of which I am aware. What that means is that existence exists. Something exists. No matter what its particular nature, something exists. And that means that something exists. Something that is what it is. That's the law of identity. Everything is what it is and isn't what it isn't. You know from your first moment of awareness that everything that is what it is. That's the law of identity, and nothing can violate it. There is nothing in general, or nothing that isn't what it is. Take a table. You say, oh yeah, that's a nice table over there. What table? Oh, nothing, just, tables in general. There are no tables in general. There are only particular tables. Things are only what they are. So everything is what it is. Now, what is God? Well, God is not just some powerful being. That would be an alien. If an alien came down to Earth and he had powerful abilities, possibly due to technology or biology or whatever, he could just do things that we can't do. Would people consider him God and start worshiping him? No. Why? Because he's not miraculous. God means miraculous. It means he can perform miracles. Now, what does a miracle mean? What is a miracle? A miracle is an act of violating the law of identity. It's an act of making X non-X without going through the method required to make X non-X. Water into wine, Jesus, that's a miracle. It's not that you can turn water into wine by the chemical process that we know of. It's that Jesus abridged that process and transformed water into wine without going through the process required by reality. That's what a miracle is. It's a violation of the law of identity. Francis Bacon said, nature, to be commanded, must be obeyed. What that means is that in order to reform nature into a form you find preferable. You must understand how nature works and put it through the requisite process that transforms it into the form you desire. God is that being who can transform nature without going through that process. He is the being who allegedly can command nature without obeying it. Now, the key here is that you know for certain that such a being cannot exist, because from your first moment of awareness, you know that A is A. A thing is what it is. Nothing can ever violate that. So any being who is posited to violate the law of identity does not exist. It's as simple as that. There's no complex proof, no complex argument. Everything is what it is. If you say, oh, well, I know of a being who can actually make things what they aren't without going through the process dictated by nature, you know automatically that that is false. There is no being who can make 2 + 2 = 5. Period. The end. There is no being who can turn water into wine without going through the requisite chemical process. And that is what God is posited to be. As I said, if an alien came down who just had advanced powers, nobody would consider that God, because God is supposed to be mystical, something supernatural, something contradictory to the natural world. That's why we are supposed to worship him, because he's not of this world. But once you understand that nothing can exist that is not a part of this world, that it is incoherent to posit the existence of something that is not a part of this world, then you understand why God cannot exist. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, you can just email them to charles.a.2@gmail.com. You can also check out my website at charlestew.com, and there you can find information on and links to all my work, including ways to support it. The best way you can support it is through Patreon with a recurring donation, and there are all kinds of rewards for doing so, including philosophical tutoring if you contribute at a certain level. You can also share this show or any of my shows or any of my content on social media. Tweet it, Facebook it, whatever. Email it. In any case, thanks for listening. Let's meet again in episode 15.